Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So this might be the most needed video in the history of the TXG YouTube channel. It seems to me, and Matty, you said it to me, you know, if I take another question about iron shafts.
I just felt like it's every, like 9 to 10 questions seem to be about iron shafts lately.
Yeah, and then that just makes me think that we need to help you guys more with that. We need to help you through that process of, it clearly is a confusing subject, how to pick a set of iron shafts that are specifically good for you.
Yeah, I think obviously more detail is needed. Maybe we failed you a little bit in past videos. I kind of feel like we've done this, but I think what you've compiled here is more comprehensive. So I think this will be kind of the definitive guide to it. Definitive guide,
7 steps to the ideal iron shafts for you. So there's 5 that I consider to be very much based around the fit and the fit and the flight. There's 2 that are more about the kind of build process itself, making sure your components are all matching one another and are all in sync with one another. So point number 1, we start where you guys would probably expect us to start, on swing speed.
Yeah, most commonly that's how people differentiate between shafts.
Yes.
Yeah. On your 6 iron speed.
On your kind of mid iron, so 6 or 7. So once we get into the kind of 70 mile an hour range, 70 to kind of somewhat around 78, we're into the A flex territory.
Right.
79 to 85, we're in regular flex territory. 86 to 90.
Yeah, 90 even.
And around that, we're going to be in stiff. 91 and up into your territory, 96, 97, sometimes a bit more.
X.
You're going to be in X flex territory after that. Next, we've got shaft weight.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to shaft weight, what we're thinking about is the tempo of the player.
Okay.
Right, so I mean, I think, do you want to dive in and we'll
let's start hitting a few?
Yeah, let's start hitting a few. Okay. And I think we can talk a little bit more about tempo and maybe demonstrate some smoother tempos versus some
more aggressive tempo.
Tempo, some more kind of heavy loaders, if you like. Okay, let's dive into that. We'll set you up firstly with a combination that we would pull for somebody that is specifically a very smooth loader.
Yes.
Someone whose speed comes out at a kind of nice acceleration rate, not kind of too slow and too narrow and it all comes out late. Just a really nice kind of fairly wide downswing and angles are coming out at just about the right time. So smooth accelerator here. Lovely shot there, Matty boy. So, I mean, very smooth for you.
Yeah, smooth tempo.
Easiest 190 you'll see anywhere. You're kind of high, you're 99 miles an hour and it looks like you're literally going slow motion. So that's the epitome of good mechanics, excellent kinematic sequence. Speed comes out exactly at the right time.
Right.
The other side of the scale would be the whip cracker.
Right.
So you've got in between, you've got lots of different categories. You've got plane changers, right? You've got players who generally take the club too much in the inside and then over the top. They're players who need weight as well.
Extra weight is good for them.
Extra weight, higher weight for the plane changers.
Right.
Heavy loaders. Think about whip crackers and heavy loaders, similar sort of thing. Sergio, Woodland, those types of guys. Taking it back wide, really narrowing the way down. So give us something on the Sergio scale.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah, try to feel a little quicker in transition.
Again, trends and traits of players who are more in that opposite end of the scale, steeper, lower launch angle, lower dynamic loft, tend to be the kind of low launch rise and flights. Those tend to be your kind of whip cracker and heavy loaders.
Makes sense.
Okay, so principle number 3 when it comes to choosing the right set of iron shafts for you would be the profile of the shaft itself. Lots of different profiles. When we look at the profile, what we're talking about is from the butt section to the tip section, how that stiffness sort of flows from kind of being extremely stiff in the butt section to being softer in the mid section and however it might be in the tip section. So if we look at a couple of different shafts here, we might want to look at something like Nippon Modus 130. Pretty much the stiffest butt section of any steel shaft on the market right now.
Okay.
And then we would compare that to something like a Dynamic Gold.
which is a little bit more feel in the handle.
A lot of softness in the handle, getting down into a much stiffer tip section. So smooth, lovely feel. Again, more of a smooth accelerator profile. Heavy loaders, more of a Nippon Modus 130 profile, that type of thing. So
gotcha.
let's kind of hit both of those and kind of show the contrast in flights.
Sure. Felt good.
A gorgeous strike. For you, Matty, probably feels a little bit stiffer.
It does, yeah.
Handle-wise, but you should probably, at impact, you should feel. So transition, stable, at impact, soft.
Agreed, yeah. It's really just that address where you kind of feel like, okay, this feels like a super stiff shaft, but when you swing it, it has the right kind of mechanics.
Exactly. Okay, let's go into the opposing shaft to that. That was lovely.
Yeah, that was a good strike there.
That is the typical flight I see from a dynamic gold.
A little bit lower launch and a bit of a rising ball.
But you guys can see why we talk about these shafts not as launch angle changers, as spin rate changers. Look at that. I mean, it's slightly lower in launch with something like an X100 versus a Modus 130. But never gravitate towards the shaft to try to manipulate your launch conditions. You just won't find the win there.
We're trying to find the shaft that suits your timing and transition the best.
Exactly, exactly. So like we talked about, whether you're, which type of player we designate you as of our kind of different categories that we've talked about, that's where you're going to find the win. Next point, we want to talk to you about weight progression. 3 different weight progressions that we want to talk to you about specifically. You've got constant weight shafts, which is exactly what like a set of X100s is, Nippon Modus 120s, Project X. The most common type of shaft that you would find in a taper tip design. We've also got descending weight shafts, which are parallel blanks. And then basically we take, for a set of 4 to wedge, we'll take 7 parallel shafts. We will then cut them to length and they will descend in weight. The shorter we cut it, the lighter it gets.
So your short irons are actually the lightest irons?
Yes,
yeah.
Which generally is what we do for junior golfers, slower swingers. That tends to benefit them. And then we have ascending, which is becoming a really popular way to have your iron shafts. So something like the AMT, True Temper AMT shafts, go from 112 grams in the 4 iron, 115 in the 5 iron, 118 in the 6 iron, all the way up in 3 gram increments till it gets to 130 in the pitch and wedge.
Gotcha.
So gives us the ability to be a little bit more dynamic in the long irons, have a little bit more speed and zip to create that flight, and a little bit more control and a little bit less speed where you need it, which is you're just trying to flight those short irons a little bit lower, trying to kind of flight them down, give you that more control. Decide what it is that you want. Are you looking to try and maximize your speed if you're a slower swinger? Descending can be great. And also if you like your shafts to be frequency matched, that's another part.
Okay.
Parallel shafts are what we will use to control frequency much more than taper tip.
Right.
Okay, because when we're cutting the full length of that blank, the blank shaft length, we get the chance to influence the frequency from there.
Right.
Club builders, that's generally what they use.
Okay, makes sense.
Point number 5 is on field preference. We obviously have steel, which has been the dominant iron shaft that people have used for years. But now we're really talking about graphite being a really, really strong option to oppose steel shafts.
100%, yeah.
Whether it's something that you have an injury or something that you're trying to protect from longevity of playing the game, or it's just you prefer the feel.
People always ask what's the graphite version of this steel shaft, and you go, there isn't one, because graphite is designed and built differently because they can.
Yep.
Steel has to be pretty simple because it's steel and it's not as easy to manipulate the pieces where there's extra weight or less weight.
Yep. So
the feels are just going to differ because they're not the same.
Without a doubt. So I think when it comes to, again, field preference, are you looking for more feedback, different sound to a steel shaft versus a graphite shaft? Tends to be higher pitched because you have a higher rate of vibration.
Right.
Generally what we hear or what we feel is what we hear. They're very tied together. So the higher the pitch, generally the higher level of feedback that we'll get. That is a little bit more of what we get from steel.
Right.
A little bit less feel and a little bit more sort of dampening of that vibration. If we want to just feel that we're hitting every shot pretty solid and decrease the feedback, go towards graphite. That'll help you a heck of a lot more. That's why we tend to pair bigger cavities with graphite, you know, and sort of smaller, you know, less cavity-backed designs with steel. Just changes that feedback.
Because you can get a soft feel either way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the final two, Matty, are where we start considering the build process into a little bit more. And I think any fitters watching or anyone trying to design their own clubs, you have to have one eye on the build when you're designing the perfect fit. So you can have, you know, a club that works great for a 6-iron. People ask us, why do you only test off 1 iron? Because we're thinking about all these variables at the same time. So the 2 points that I always think about with regards to the build is balance point.
Right.
That's the kind of first of the two. Is the balance point high? Will that offset extra length? So if we're going ½ inch over, inch and a half over, I will generally gravitate towards a higher balance point shaft.
Right.
Or something lower in total weight.
And maybe even a heavier grip, if you can manage it, would help?
Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime we can pull that you know, balance of the weight up the shaft, exactly like you said, you know, more rubber generally equals more weight. Thicker, stiffer butt sections generally add to higher CG,
right.
So to offset some of that length. If you're using a set of Muras or a set of heads that are very, very heavy, move that balance point up, take advantage of the extra mass in the head.
Right.
More ball speed, less deflection, higher MOI. There are wins to be had by doing that. But again, counter the head you like with the shaft that complements that and the grip that complements it.
Same way if you had a light head and you wanted to get a D2 swing weight out of it, you need to choose a lower balance point shaft and probably a lighter grip.
Exactly. And then the last piece of the puzzle when it comes to the shaft is, and it's not even about the shaft, but when it comes to picking a shaft, it has to be a complementary piece to the system. You know, we often call golf clubs a system because it is 3 individual components working together as one unit. And that's the way we want to try and think about it. So we have to have the right length, we have to have the right weight, balance point, we've got to have the right grip size, we've got to have the right grip weight, etc., etc. You've got to have all of those components complementary to one another to create the proper system. Yeah,
and if not, you are probably going to try a shaft that maybe does fit you, but you don't end up having it built properly and it doesn't work as a total component. Maybe the shaft was right for you, but the bill wasn't.
When you're making the system, when you're making the set, you have to think of the implications of the component. If I'm going Mura, I have to think about the length. If I'm going, you know, some of the lighter head weights, potentially some of the cavity backs from Mizuno can often be in the mid 250s rather than the mid 260s.
Okay.
So when we're talking about 10 grams of head weight, we're talking about, you know, 5 swing weight points. We're really talking about large implications when it comes to the length, the weight, the balance point, the grip size, the grip weight, etc., etc. So hopefully this helps, guys. It's a very, very difficult one. We're, you know, it took me 20 years to get to the point where I understood this stuff, you know, fully. So we're not expecting you guys to be able to make the best decisions, but hopefully videos like this will help you keeping on, you know, watching the videos and how we select components for the people that we fit in the videos, whether it's Matt or Brian or Mikey or myself, whatever
Ronnie
that may
or whoever,
be.
yeah.
Ronnie, exactly. Different golfers require different components because they have different needs and wants.
Yeah.
So hopefully videos like this help, guys. So stay tuned to the channel. More videos like this coming. If you're not a subscriber, make sure you do subscribe. We will be doing more educational videos like this that will be part of our evergreen content that we feel like helps you guys along the way when it comes to decision making. You're not making bad decisions, not going in, and if you don't feel comfortable being fit and you want to just go and, you know, buy golf clubs, at least we're educating you and helping you along the way to making some better decisions. That's what's most important to us. So stay tuned for more, and we'll see you again soon.